The impeachment drama behind him, President Trump now sets his sights on revenge, trying to turn the saga to his advantage heading towards elections. Global panic deepens over the Chinese coronavirus as the official death toll rises to 636. One of the latest victims, a Chinese whistleblower doctor who tried to get the word out about the disease. And the first German state premier elected with the help of the far-right AfD party says he will step down to pave the way for new elections. Welcome to the France 24 newsroom in Paris. I'm Alexander Rawcott. And we've got news just in that Pete Buttigieg has narrowly defeated Bernie Sanders in the Iowa caucus with 100% of the precincts counted. That vote took place on Monday, and there had been a huge mess due to technical glitches with the voting system. But as we say now, Pete Buttigieg is confirmed as... Yeah, we'll tell you more when that comes in about how the process has run. We'll move on now, and a day after his acquittal, Donald Trump has held a meandering victory rally in the White House East Room. For more than an hour, the US president used this victory lap to pour scorn on those who tried to remove him from office, hinting that he'll use the trial as the valuable electoral stick to beat the Democrats with in the months ahead. Nick Rushworth has the latest.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
He got a standing ovation from Republican lawmakers, administration officials, and members of the conservative media. Donald Trump slammed what he said was a 3-year-long witch hunt against him.
We went through hell unfairly, did nothing wrong. Did nothing wrong. I've done things wrong in my life, I will admit. Not purposely, but I've done things wrong. But this is what the end result is.
The Republican-controlled Senate voted to acquit Trump on 2 charges, one of abusing his power and the other on obstruction of Congress. Earlier on Thursday, Trump brandished newspaper headlines at a national prayer breakfast, the theme of which was "Love Your Enemy." He took a jab at the lone Republican to vote for impeachment, Mitt Romney, and at House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who was present at the breakfast. He said he didn't like people who say, "I pray for you," when they know that's not so, clearly referring to her. She later hit back.
I pray hard for him because he's so off the track of our Constitution, our values, our country. He's impeached forever, no matter what he says or whatever headlines he wants to carry around. You're impeached forever. You're never getting rid of that scar.
The Democrats are uncertain about their next steps in investigating Trump. There are several court cases pending. Despite the polarized mood on the Hill, he now has momentum for the 2020 election campaign, with near universal support from Republicans and with his popularity ratings steady.
As we saw briefly there, Donald Trump took aim at Mitt Romney, the one Republican to break ranks and vote for impeachment. The former presidential hopeful said his faith wouldn't let him vote any differently.
I swore an oath before God to exercise impartial justice. I am profoundly religious. My faith is at the heart of who I am. I take an oath before God as enormously consequential.
Well, for more on this, France 24 earlier spoke to Frank Bowman, law professor at the University of Missouri, who said Mitt Romney has been one of the standout characters from the process.
There were some bright lights, faint and glimmering though they were, and one of them principally was Mitt Romney, who, remember, was the Republican presidential nominee only 8 years ago, who stood up and in the midst of the sort of hypnotizing, mesmerizing fog that we've all seemed to be been under in the Senate chamber over the past few weeks, simply stood up and spoke the truth, which is the House managers have proven their case. The president had, in fact, committed impeachable conduct, and that any person of honesty and of faith who took an oath to decide the facts and do justice had to conclude precisely that. And even though Trump was already started lashing back at him, and even though, the cowards in his own party may shun him, that man spoke the truth. And although I do not just agree with Mitt Romney on many things, because I'm not of his party, I think we should all understand that he was a man of principle, an American patriot.
Moving on now to the latest from the Chinese coronavirus. The official death toll has risen by 73 during Thursday, taking that total to 636, while total infections have now exceeded 31,000. One of those who died was a whistleblower doctor, 34-year-old Li Wenliang. He'd tried to get the word out about the outbreak at the end of December, and then was one of 8 people summoned by the police for spreading false rumours. Thomas Waterhouse tells us more.
He tried to warn the world before it was too late and was muzzled by authorities for the truth he wanted to out. But on Friday, this 34-year-old Chinese doctor died from the virus that he desperately attempted to stop in its tracks.
The ophthalmologist Li Wenliang of our hospital, who was unfortunately infected during the fight against the pneumonia epidemic from the novel coronavirus, died at 2:58 a.m. on February the 7th, 2020. Despite all-out efforts to save him. We deeply regret and mourn this.
State TV has broadcast these pictures of Wuhan's specially built Lai Shenshan, or Thunder God Mountain Hospital, which has gone up at lightning speed. The building of the 1,600-bed clinic began less than 2 weeks ago, and it's already started treating the infected. With the number of deaths and fresh detected cases continuing to rise, in the city of Hefei, drones are now taking to the sky, flying from street to spray disinfectant.
We've asked locals not to leave their washing outside to dry and to keep windows and doors shut.
And in the hard-hit Hubei province, a fleet of trucks armed with disinfectant cannons have been out in force, while health workers go house to house with handheld sprays. In a land often nicknamed the world's workshop, and where entire cities have been placed under lockdown, the president says a thorough people's war is well underway and that China will win this battle against the deadly virus.
Elsewhere, another 41 people on a cruise liner off Japan have tested positive for coronavirus, bringing the total on that ship alone to 61. That's double the cases in all of Europe. A second docked cruise ship with thousands of passengers and crew members is also under 14-day quarantine off Hong Kong. The first German state premier elected with the help of the far-right AfD party says he will step down to pave the way for new elections. Thomas Kemmerich, elected on Wednesday, called his resignation unavoidable. Here's Jessica Saltz with more from the fallout from the vote.
The reason that Thomas Kemmerich's election was so controversial was the fact that this was a man from the Liberal Party whose party only has 5 seats in the regional parliament, but was voted into power by a collaboration between the far-right party, the Conservatives, and the Liberal Party, who all voted him in order to stop the far-left party, Die Linke, taking power in Thuringia. Now, the big problem with this is that on the national level, all of Germany's political parties, including, of course, the Conservatives, have a very strong red line against any sort of collaboration or working together with the AfD whatsoever. So these sort of backroom negotiations trying to get Kemmerich elected really were taken very, very badly here in Berlin by all leading politicians. We saw a lot of damage control done quite quickly, and especially in the state of Thuringia. When we talk about the AfD there, it is the furthest right of the far-right branch of the AfD. The head of the AfD in Thuringia, Björn Höcke, can legally, according to a court judgment, be called a fascist because of his links to extremist groups. So this has really caused shockwaves in Germany.
Those are all our top stories this hour. Do stay tuned for more updates coming up on France 24.